Wolfie, Wolfie, Wolfie. Gosh. Oh, what a frustrating game. What a frustrating game. Austin FC ties San Jose Earthquakes 2-2. My name is Ty Roeder. Hello, everyone. I am the host of the Verde and Black Show here on YouTube for your in-depth analysis and kind of breakdown of all things Austin FC. Let's get into the match yesterday, Saturday, April 2nd, the first game in April for Austin FC after a 2-week hiatus for the international break. Congratulations to the U.S. men's national team for qualifying for the Qatar World Cup later on in 2022. I'd like to think that this is a standard that the U.S. men can set and that we don't falter ever again against Trinidad and Tobago. But I'll save that for another time. Let's dive into the game specifically. So Cecilio Dominguez was in Paraguay trying to get his green card sorted out. Unfortunately, that left a starting lineup opening spot for Ethan Finlay. I think Ethan Finlay filled in good. He wasn't as creative as I feel like Cecilio typically is. Wolf kept the rest of the lineup the same. Cascante, Gabrielson as the center backs, and then everyone else filled in where they have been throughout the season. You had Urruti starting up top. I'm glad he was up there as opposed to Gite. Gite didn't see the field this game, and rightfully so. I think the first half really showcased our ability to start off strong. It felt like we were able to capitalize on San Jose pretty quickly with that goal in the 11th minute by Urruti. I mean, what a ball from Cascante over the top. Urruti, one touch, sets it up nicely, and then volleys it over the San Jose Earthquakes keeper for that nice finish. So it was Urruti's first goal for Austin FC, first goal of the season for him this year. I really thought Nick Lima and Kolmanic were quite strong throughout the game. San Jose kept trying to push it on the right-hand side against Kolmanic, at least in the first 15-20 minutes, and I thought he did a good job of standing his ground. Finlay had a ball where he should have capitalized and put it in the net, but he ultimately skied it over. I think the first half resulted, in that Jackson Ewell penalty kick, where Driussi was able to capitalize and put it away to give Austin that 2-0 lead. And then right before halftime, Ring disguised to be cheeky with it and hit it over the crossbar as opposed to drilling it in the far left-hand corner. So I think realistically, Wolf was probably disappointed not going into the break at least 3-0, maybe even 4-0. Those two chances with Finlay and Ring weren't extremely difficult chances, and you'd like to think players of that caliber can finish in front of the net, and unfortunately they couldn't. We went in 2-0. Myself, I was pretty confident in that we were going to be able to come away with 3 points, and I think all of you out there did as well. And then second half was probably the most frustrating 45 minutes of the season for Austin FC. It really circled around the 60th minute when Josh Wolf decided to pull off Fagundes and Urruti. Now, I want to focus on that for a second. Why are we pulling off Fagundes and Urruti, our striker, in the 60th minute up 2-0? Now, there's two things. One, you could think, okay, maybe, we've played 2 games in 9 days, 3 games in 9 days, maybe some tired legs. There was an international break, and I'm pretty sure Urruti and Fagundes were not with their national teams during that time. So you're looking at about a 2-week span of no playing. So they should be fresh legs. Second, maybe Wolf is thinking, okay, we're up 2-0, let's try to get the win. Now, that's understandable. I respect that, but it's the 60th minute. There's 30 minutes left in the game. 1 goal for San Jose, and then they're going to be pushing the entire game. And ultimately, that's what happened. I can understand, closing up shop and trying to secure the win with maybe even 20 minutes, 20 to 15 minutes. I would be a little shaky then. I'd like maybe the 75th minute to close up shop and ultimately just try to get the win rather than continue to open things up for additional goals. But man, the 60th minute, I mean, you could tell right away once we took off Fagundes and Urruti that things quickly changed. We brought on Rodney Redes for Fagundes and Stroud for Finley, and I think ultimately this game showed us our lack of depth. I mean, Rodney Redes is no Fagundes, and I know everyone wants to paint this picture of Rodney Redes as being the problem with Austin FC because of when he signed with the club, but ultimately I don't think Redes is the problem. He's not really a contributor, but he's not really detrimental to me on the field. I don't think he sees the field enough to be a problem. I think he's kind of someone who Wolf likes to occasionally bring off the bench, and unfortunately when he does, he doesn't provide much value. Personally, I think Stroud is more of a problem than Redes. Stroud really only played because Cecilio Dominguez wasn't even there. If Cecilio Dominguez was there, he starts, Finley comes off the bench for Dominguez maybe, and Stroud doesn't see the field. So Stroud and Redes were kind of frustrating to watch in that second half. And I don't want to say that they were the reasons we lost, because they definitely weren't. Ring and Gabrielsen fell apart in the last 25 minutes. And to be honest, I don't like Gabrielsen at center back. I've seen enough, and I think we need to switch back to Keller. I know Gabrielsen probably has the more veteran look, but I mean, Kip Keller looked young, he looked fresh. Yes, he's going to make mistakes, but at least he's going to make the mistakes and learn from them. It seems like Gabrielsen is making mistakes and just continuing to do them and lose the ball within the box. Our defensive alignment when it comes to corners is just terrible. I mean, Cascante I trust. Cascante and Stuver, Lima, Fagundes, I trust for the most part. Gabrielsen, I've seen enough. I'd rather go into the next game and Kip Keller allow 1 or 2 goals, and then we can reevaluate it. Or hopefully Romagna comes back and he's healthy. But Gabrielsen he's frustrating, and they talk about his veteran presence, and his veteran presence is not paying off. That being said, our defensive marking inside the box led to those 2 goals. I mean, when Cade Cal had that second goal inside the box, we all kind of just stood around, and I understand that it's happening really fast, but you just need someone to be reactionary. I know they scored 2 goals against us, but neither of the goals I blame on Stuver. There's not much he could do, and to be honest, he had some really fine saves, and so I like what I've seen from Stuver. I think Austin FC is very fortunate to not walk away from that game blowing the 2-0 lead and coming out losing 3-2. I think San Jose looked like the team that should have won in the second half, and we're very, very, very lucky that we didn't lose that game. I hear fans saying, let's look at where we were last year. We struggled to even get away points, and yes, that is true, but I want to see progress. I don't want to look at this 2022 team and compare it to 2021 when 2021 was awful. It was a mess, especially on the road. And when you go up 2-0 on the road in MLS, if we want to compete, even at home, for any chance of making the playoffs or doing anything in the league, we need to be able to come away with a win after being up 2-0. Regardless of what we did in the past, it's just unacceptable to walk away with a point. Now, if I will say that if we had been struggling, if we've been, trying to get points on the road or at home and we just couldn't find any, we had some tough losses, then I can understand, getting a point. But when you're up 2-0, regardless of what we did last year on the road, you got to be able to capitalize on those points. And unfortunately, now we sit in 3rd place in the Western Conference. I think that's a lot better than where most Austin FC fans thought we would be this 5 games into the season. We're 2 points back of Real Salt Lake and 5 from LAFC. We're tied with a couple of teams in the Western Conference, so things are okay. They could be a lot better. I hope that as we progress later on in the season, that we start to realize that we're not going to be able to just take single points away from games, especially on the road. I mean, forget what we do at home. You'd like to think that we're going to win some of our games at home, but those games where you're up 2-0 on the road are few and far between, and I'm really frustrated that we weren't able to capitalize on it. So my two top performers of the game, first being Stuver. I know the scoreline doesn't suggest that he did much, but I definitely think he kept us in it. He was aware. I think he could do a better job on marking and crossing, whether it's a free kick or a corner kick. I think that marking and alignment kind of starts with the goalkeeper, and so I put some of the onus on him. But I've liked what I've seen so far throughout the season. I think he's our clear number one. There's no competition there, and I'm excited to see when we start getting against these better teams. Seeing how he holds up against some of those top teams in the Western Conference. The second player I'd like to illustrate for my top performer is Urruti, primarily because he finally got that Austin FC goal off his back. It was a beauty. Might have been the best goal in Austin FC history thus far, and I just felt like when we took him off, it really showed his importance to the team. I was frustrated early on in the season where I didn't feel like he was doing enough to create space, but I can say after watching this game and taking him off, he provides the necessary space and kind of positioning for our wingers to get in behind and kind of opens the game up a little bit more and understands his role a lot more, whether it's not always scoring, because I know Driussi, Fagundes, Dominguez sometimes like to take the goal scoring away from Urruti, which is fine. I don't care who scores, as long as Urruti knows his place and understands what he's in the squad to do. So that's it for me. Excited about the season. Third place in the Western Conference, 5 games in, isn't too shabby. Hopefully we go up in the power rankings and could finally break the top 10. I think we would for sure have been in the top 10 had we won at San Jose. Now I'm kind of thinking that we're probably going to be around 11 or 12, so we probably won't show up. But feel free to subscribe to this channel. I look forward to hearing your thoughts, and you'll see me again soon. All right, bye-bye.